In July of 1984, nearly 100 enthusiasts from 10 countries travelled to England to take part in the second World Championships for a rediscovered sport, field crossbow shooting. The event took place in the grounds of Himley Hall in the heart of the West Midlands, where parkland surrounding the former home of the Earls of Dudley provided a picturesque setting for the competitions. Here, the link between modern technology and a weapon whose sophistication has been appreciated for some 2,000 years became evident. The World Championships were decided over 2 days of intense shooting, one complete international round being shot each day. The round consists of 30 shots from each of 3 distances, 65, 50, and 35 meters, and the possible score for the 90 shots is 900 points. At the completion of the first day's shooting, Kauko Latvala of Finland led the men's competition with 859 points. His fellow countryman and reigning champion Vico Pura was second with 850, while America's Alan Koffold lay third with 846. In the ladies' event, Carol Pelosi, 11 times US champion and reigning world lady champion, held a comfortable lead over Finn's Hilkka Nieminen and Sinikka Hämäläinen. British interest on this day was focused on the junior competition, where 14-year-old Nicholas Aston, son of the championship's director Chris Aston, lay second, just behind Sarah Plappert of the USA. And in the team event, Pura, Latvala and Häkkinen led, ahead of the USA and Great Britain. But how did the event itself first come about? It was organized by the Crossbow Archery Development Association, known as CARDA, sponsored by archery goods manufacturers Barnett International, and backed by the local authorities of Dudley and Wolverhampton. But the hosts were this country's largest crossbow club, Valley Crossbowmen of Wolverhampton. They have watched the sport grow in popularity for the past 20 years as the Swiss-based International Crossbow Shooting Union, IAU, has guided the development of the sport. With more than 20 countries now active under the IAU umbrella, they're keen to make the sport even more popular, and so they've recently added field crossbow to their program. Field crossbow itself relates strongly to the disciplines of target archery. The facilities needed are identical. Competitors wear light sports clothing, and the targets used are portable, making this a very practical and economical sport. IAU match crossbow, currently the better known of the two styles, is related more to small ball rifle shooting. Special crossbows are used, and the sport takes place on permanent ranges, many of them equipped with automatic target transport systems. Yet the equipment used by field crossbowmen holds its own fascination for the more mechanically minded shooter. Most of these crossbows are handmade, many of them by the competitors themselves. There were many different designs to be seen at Himley, like the trackless crossbow, so called because the traditional groove into which the bolt is placed is absent. Instead, the bolt is supported only at the front. And with this type of crossbow, the stiffness of the arrow shaft must be carefully matched to the power of the prod or bow, in just the same way that longbow archers must match their arrows to ensure consistent flight. As the string is released, the acceleration causes the arrow to flex and bend. This is known as the archer's paradox. And unless the arrow is matched to the bow, it will not fly true. The trackless crossbow is popular in the USA, and the design used by the US team at Himley is the work of Hardy Ward, a former world champion target archer. By contrast, the Finnish team's crossbows are more conventional, featuring a full-length groove or track to guide the bolt. Notice the resemblance to target rifles, too, where features like butt hooks and palm rests improve control. The bolts are made from high-strength aluminium alloy tubing, as used by today's target archers. These miniature arrows are assembled by the shooters from precision components, every bolt in a set being identically matched. Naturally, at club level, many people start out using relatively inexpensive crossbows sold through sports goods stores, but although they can get started for less than £100, experience gained with these basic crossbows is invaluable when they move on to more exotic versions costing several hundreds of pounds. But now back to the championships. At the completion of the 65-metre distance on the second day, Vico Pura had closed the gap on teammate Latvala to a mere 3 points, and his 286 out of 300 established a new world record for that distance. Carol Pelosi extended her lead in the ladies' event, her 261 out of 300 setting yet another world mark. Top West German match crossbow shooter Sieglinde Wagner shot well to move up into second place, and Nicholas Aston pulled back his deficit to move into number 1 spot in the junior event. Since this is a new sport to Great Britain, the Valley Club called in the assistance of other West Midlands shooting clubs to help run the competitions. So, for consistent accuracy, shooting was controlled by members of local archery clubs, while judges were provided by the Grand National Archery Society. The scoring was conducted by the local rifle shooting fraternity, and IBM computers and JBS software supplied an up-to-the-minute results service. In that respect, Himley represented the ultimate in teamwork between technology and ancient art. But let's take a closer look at the shooting technique itself. In many ways, it's similar to the standing free rifle discipline. The crossbow must be loaded by hand without the aid of the lever used in match crossbow. Accuracy begins with a good loading technique, so top shooters mark the center of the bowstring as a reference, whereas the trackless bows have a string loop which automatically looks after centering. Here's world champion Vico Pura in action. Notice the stance. The bolt is placed. The weight is evenly distributed. Note the careful positioning of the head and hands against the stock. And for total accuracy, every single action must be precisely repeated for every shot. Relaxation, controlled breathing, observation of wind and weather conditions, aiming and trigger techniques, all of these elements are part of the challenge of field crossbow shooting. The moment of truth. The shot is released. The bolt dwells in the track for an instant, so for control to be maintained, a positive follow-through is vital. The bolt strikes home, and if all is well, it's another perfect 10. Every competitor at Himley went through these actions over 200 times during the two-day event. Over 16 hours of intense concentration in all, and with typical draw weights on the crossbows of anything from 70 to 95 pounds. So whose stamina would tell? At the completion of the 50-metre distance, Vico was on level terms with Kauko. The Finns incredibly tied on 1,423 points apiece after 150 shots. Carol Pelosi continued her successful title defence, while fellow US shooter Lily Stouffer moved into third place, overcoming a disastrous start to the weekend when her crossbow was badly damaged in a car park mishap. And Nick Aston shot a new British junior record of 262 to consolidate his lead in the juniors event. Although this weekend was a celebration of the modern crossbow, traditions and history were not forgotten. All the visitors were able to view a rare exhibition of historic crossbows, many dating back to the 16th century, from the Simon Archery Collection housed in Manchester University. But the idea of mounting a bow on a cross stave and providing a means of releasing the string had occurred much earlier. The Chinese were aware of the technique before the birth of Christ, but it was only slowly that the use of the crossbow spread into Europe. In fact, not until the early 11th century can we trace its history and spread with certainty. Despite a decline in interest in England, due of course to the success of the longbow, the weapon remained prominent on the continent, continuing as a sporting weapon even when the military turned their attentions to gunpowder. Crossbow target shooting remains a popular sport in Europe and is recognized as a well-organized international shooting discipline. And now field crossbow has brought the sport right up to date with these Second World Championships. As the contest reaches its final stages, you begin to appreciate the backing that championship sponsors Barnet International provided to the organisers. From work parties to change targets, to a fully equipped workshop manned by Barnet technicians to maintain competitors' equipment in top condition. In the final round, nothing less than perfection would do, as all attention was focused onto targets 1 and 2, where Pöra and Latvala were locked in a tremendous battle for the lead. Pöra shoots a perfect 10, again. His final 12 shots were all perfect ring 10s, fully inside the 10 zone, and the scores were tied once more on 1,718 points. After the scorecards were checked, Pöra had retained his title by the slimmest of margins, 94 ring 10s to Latvala's 90. It had been a superb exhibition of controlled marksmanship from the two Finns. Vico Pöra's final round of 868 out of 900, establishing a truly remarkable new world record. But there were many fine trophies to be presented at the end of the two-day event. Among them, the Mikkeli Cup, donated by the Finnish town of Mikkeli, host for the first championships in 1982. There were IAU medals for individual competition winners and other trophies and awards donated by West Midlands organisations.
The winning team for the 1984 World Crossbow Championships is Finland. Second, the United States of America. Third, Great Britain.
The D.J.D. Spring Trophy presented to Carol Pelosi by the Deputy Mayor of Wolverhampton. The Himley Hall Trophy, donated by the boroughs of Wolverhampton and Dudley, was won by Vico Pura. The Halstead Trophy was presented to Nicholas Aston. The Maida Trophy went to Sarah Plappert, and the special 50-metre award was presented to Nicholas Aston by Mr. Frank Spittle of the National Small Bore Rifle Association. Guest of honour at the World Championships was Herr Gottfried Diener, President of the International Crossbow Shooting Union, and the event attracted interest from local civic dignitaries and top officials from other shooting sports. Thanks in no small part to the judges, led here by Director of Shooting Dennis Truslove. The World Championships have undoubtedly established field crossbow shooting as a sport with an exciting future, as well as an intriguing past. Because, as the competition at Himley Hall fades into the history books, thoughts have already turned to 1986, when the United States of America plays host to the third World Championships in Oxford, Ohio. It looks to me as if the crossbow is beginning to take its revenge for being ousted once upon a time by the longbow. It seems set for a growing international life, and who knows, we may soon see it among the Olympic sports.
I declare the second World Field Crossbow Shooting Championships closed.